thank you very much for joining Crown Mentorship Foundation. And we're going to have a wonderful discussion, a protege discussion today. And I'm very excited to have a very good friend of mine, Wunmi Adekanmbi, joining us today. And for just a quick introduction of who Wunmi is, Wunmi has over 12 years of experience in project management. She effectively is very exceptional in design and delivery, technical management, change leadership, customer experience solutions, leading effective teams, and driving transformational change. She's an expert in her industry and always looking for ways to grow and learn more. And I'm so happy that Wunmi is joining the conversation today and giving us a viewpoint from a protege perspective. So Wunmi, thank you very much for joining today.
Thanks for having me, Shiju. Great
Very
work you're doing here at Crown Mentorship Foundation. Good to
thank
see
you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, you've been a supporter literally from day one, and I really appreciate having your support and very excited to actually pick your brain today and get some insight and speak very candidly. We talk about February being Black History Month, and it was really important to have a Black protege come and actually speak from their heart where their career is going. And I've got some questions that I'd love to ask you. And I know that you'll do your best in giving us your personal opinion, your professional opinion to be able to shed some light. So, first question that I'd like to ask is, have you benefited from having a mentor as you have progressed through your career? And if you have, can you also shed some light on some of the benefits that you have gained from doing so?
Yeah, absolutely. I went through a formal mentorship program with PMI, Southern Alberta chapter, that's Project Management Institute, where we actually, mentors and proteges were paired together. So that's one recent formal mentorship experience I had, and it was really valuable because I find that sometimes what you need is not so much of direction as clarity. You have all these pieces and it's like they're jumbled together, and someone can stand from a distance, stand away from the mix of things, and just have this bigger perspective for you, and that just clarifies things, and eventually you make your decision. The direction gets clearer to you just because you had this person that has had a lot of experience in the workforce, and they can just look at you and everything you bring to the table and just give you pointers and help you get clarity. So that's one major thing I took from that mentorship program, that for most of us, the solution is already within. You just someone that can see it better than you, that has a perspective that's not jumbled up, because you are in the mix of things. Sometimes it all gets blurry, but because they can look from a higher, more distant perspective, you get that nudge, and then it just clarifies things for you. So yeah, clarity is one major thing I benefited from that program. And talking about mentorship, it doesn't most of the experiences I've had, most of the mentors I have are informal. So it's not usually, you don't, it doesn't have to be formal. It doesn't have to be a program. Sometimes it's just, there's even peer mentorship that it's a colleague, it's an acquaintance, but it's just peer to peer, like you're sharpening each other. And
Right.
as long as you're accountable,
Yeah.
mentorship works, whether peer-to-peer or formal, informal. There are many ways to achieve it.
Yeah, no, you're definitely correct. I think accountability on both part, you're right, is very, very key. So I'm curious to know, is there any particular traits or qualities that you look for, when you are seeking a mentor? Is there something that stands out for you that you can point out to people?
For sure. Number one, you need someone that knows their onions. Like they need to to have earned it in some way to earn the ability to speak to a subject matter. I mean, it's not the most important thing,
Mm-hmm.
but it just has to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's not what makes a successful mentor,
Yeah.
but it's just an essential ingredient. Like you want someone who has walked that path,
Yeah.
because so that they can actually give the guidance. But more
Yeah.
importantly, is someone that is relatable, because it's important that you're able to see yourself, to see yourself in that person's experience, and
Okay.
in their and also in their outlook, in how they, what was their leadership style, for example. Because mentorship protégé is not necessarily top bottom, right? So you want
Right.
someone that understands the real concept of leadership as servanthood, that the
Yeah.
fact that they've gone ahead does not necessarily make them extra special. It just means they have a privilege which they can now use to help get others better, to keep others up to speed. So yeah, so someone that is relatable, that has a deep sense of their own security.
That's interesting.
Like when someone has an internally generated sense of security,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't depend, they're not feeding off you, they're not feeding off any other thing in their environment. They are giving from a place of abundance.
Yeah.
And that just exudes. You just see it. So they're
Yeah.
not doing it so that they can feel better about themselves. They're not doing it so they can show you they're better than you. It's just from a place of, they're already grounded, and they're just giving off from that.
That's like the way you explain it, it is actually hits home because I think one of the things at Crown Mentorship that we strive is that the mentors, we want them to bring that passion. You know, you mentioned something about the servant leadership, and that's key. When you are a mentor, it's a selfless position where you're giving your time, your knowledge and advice to a protege, and you're not, getting paid for it. So it's coming from a place of a good well-being where you really want to see others succeed and putting others first. And yeah, so I think that that's actually a very good way when you say the certain qualities that you look for. That's definitely a quality of a successful mentor, one that can really provide good guidance from a good place. So I want to change the direction and talk a little bit about being a Black professional. And one of the things that I always talk about is I talk about the fact that there are some barriers that exist, especially for Black professionals. Um, Now, as a Black professional yourself, I'm curious to know, and I bet you it's probably some of the same challenges that I have shared, but what are some challenges that you have experienced um, as you have progressed in your career?
Okay, so for me, I am Black, yeah, and I am also an immigrant to
Mm-hmm.
Canada. So that's like another layer
Yeah,
to that.
correct.
And my challenges, I can relate it mostly to being an immigrant. I don't know if I can narrow it down to being Black,
Mm.
just because I mean, it's hard to layer it, to know
Yeah,
what able to what. But for
correct.
sure, the major challenge is that I had to start all over, because I was a university lecturer back in Nigeria, and then I couldn't even get into academics, and had to pivot, had to like think about what other strengths do I have, what other things do I bring to the table. So that's when I started project management, change management, customer experience,
Mm.
and that's fulfilling. That's great. So yeah, so the challenge is, and it's not everybody that has that same experience of having to start over. Some just get in here and they're in the industry. But
Right.
something that I can't prove that this happens, but I've heard HR professionals say that some hiring managers, when your name is difficult to pronounce. It's kind of a setback on its own. That they see a name, they can't pronounce it well. They would rather go for a name they can pronounce. But then I can't prove it. I can't say it had a particular impact on me. And having said that, I believe that we we can make a difference. So the challenges are there. It's a human experience. It happens everywhere, and but we can make a difference. We can change the narrative, just like what you're doing with your foundation, Shiju. And um, yeah, so I just don't want to overflog that, but they definitely my career has experienced a setback, but I can't prove that it's because I'm Black, right?
I understand. Yeah, no, certainly I understand. And I think that, you do bring a very interesting perspective because you're right, coming to Canada at an older age versus myself when I immigrated to Canada at a very young age and was able to assimilate into the culture. We do face different challenges, and I can appreciate as an immigrant how difficult that it does add an extra layer of challenge to the table, which you're right in it in my professional opinion is it takes a lot of perseverance. It really does because it can be discouraging, especially when you are leaving a career where you've been invested in and you've got some backing to your name, and then you come and you have to start right from the ground up again, and it's a very difficult thing to do, and not a lot of people know how challenging that is. So kudos to you to be able to, pivot your own career and build something up for yourself and continue to grow professionally. So I
Mm-hmm.
guess
If
then,
I could add a little to that,
yeah,
talking about not dwelling on challenges. So I
yes,
recently founded a group called Immigrant Techies Alberta. And the
yes.
whole point of that is I went through the setback and I help other people not go through it, or at least not to the same extent I had to. And so the idea is just people are here, they can't find a job in their field. And in Alberta, we're trying to grow this digital economy. So how about you create this safe community for people to learn about what options they have in tech? So that's just, my way of solving the little problem that I see around.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Mhm.
I know that you shared a bit of that, and I think that's a wonderful opportunity. I'd love to share some more information on that. Put some text together if anyone's interested in learning a little bit more about Wunmi's organization. I encourage you guys to have a look and also share that information in your network if anyone is interested to getting some guidance there. So then I'm curious, what would you advise somebody that is like-minded, like yourself? Perhaps you come across another woman that has just immigrated, and doesn't know where to start. What would you advise for them to do to face the challenges?
I would like to share something my dad used to say when we were kids.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so it talks about this family. There are four kids. Well, they're named everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody. Four kids.
Okay.
A very subtle dad. We were a family of four kids. So, and then he pasted on our fridge and said, um, everybody is expecting somebody to do what anybody could have done. And guess what? Nobody did it.
Wow.
And so for me, that's a drive for me that anybody can shine their light anywhere. It doesn't matter how big their circle is, how big the circle of influence is. Wherever you are, you have influence, even if it's just over your family or your kids. You have the influence. So you can shine your light where you are. And that also, if you focus on challenges, they get bigger. But if you look at a challenge and you go, okay, what bit of this can I be a solution to? And then you take care of that. It reduces your own challenge, and then
Yeah.
it also motivates you to do more, and it changes your perspective. So you start spotting solutions rather than just seeing problems. And
Nice.
that's an attitude to have. Even if you're planning to pivot your career, that's an attitude that helps you travel far. That I can make a difference. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to involve a lot of people, but I can shine my light where I am, and that helps me go forward. So there's a Stephen Covey. He wrote a book called The Eight Habits,
Mm-hmm.
finding your voice and helping others to find theirs. So that's like my mantra:
I
find
love
your
that.
voice
Yeah.
and help others. So it's not just enough to find your voice. I mean, you might be successful, but maybe not as fulfilling. But then
Mm-hmm.
if you help others find their voice and you haven't found yours, it's not coming from a place of authenticity. So you just need both. Find your voice and equip others in whichever way you can to find theirs. So I find that kind of mindset,
Mm-hmm.
it might not solve the immediate problem, but it just makes way. Because as you empower people, you are empowered even without you knowing it. So
Again,
yeah,
like
don't focus on the problem and shine your light.
you're speaking so so much like a mentor, Wumi. I think as far as, the passion that you share of just again serving others and helping others, and it's not just about yourself and you're
Mhm.
trying to, think about the bigger picture and supporting others. That's fantastic. So I always like asking this question because I think everybody has varied definition of what success means to them and how they define success. So I'm really curious to hear how you define success.
Hmm. Success is, okay, that was a long pause.
I know it's not one that you probably get asked a lot, but I think it's one that
Mhm.
we internalize and we do. Like I think everybody strives to be in one way or the other successful in what they do. But to now put it into a definition, it's a bit
Mhm.
challenging. So
You know,
yeah,
I
I know
think
that that's a,
I'm going to tie it back to what I said earlier about finding your voice, and
mm,
then and the other piece of helping others do the same. Because success, I mean, success is whatever you want it to be. The
mhm,
question is, what does it impact? Who does it impact? So when I am able to live from a place of security and authenticity, and I am able to inspire other people to do the same with their own lives,
mhm.
that's success. Because
Wow.
it's complete, right? It's like a gift that keeps giving.
Yeah.
Now, when they are successful, other people are successful as well. So just this virtuous
Repeat
cycle.
cycle. It
Yeah.
is. It's a repeated cycle. And that's
Mhm.
awesome. I think, one of the things, again, as for proteges in our program, is that we want people to come in and gain that knowledge, gain that guidance, but then to not just let it stop there. It's that full circle where you do give back and turn around and you become a mentor for somebody else. And again, pave the way for them just like it was paved for you. So I think you're right. Like again, the way you define that is the true definition of just not living in a silo, but yet shedding all of that knowledge and making sure that it's passed on to others as well. And that's awesome. That's really good. Thank you, Wumi. This has been a really great conversation. I really enjoyed talking to you, and you've really had some really good, impactful responses to some of these questions. And I hope that others listen to the video will have gained something from this. I know that I have. And like I mentioned, I will share some information on what your organization is doing. And if there's anybody as well that's interested, highly encourage you guys to reach out to Wunmi. Thank you, Wunmi. Appreciate that.
Thanks for having me, Shiju. I really appreciate the opportunity and what your foundation is doing. Great work.
Thank you. All the best.